English by the Nature Method by Arthur M. Jensen. Brought to you by Ayan Academy.
Chapter 44 English Money. Marshall and Storm have been working hard the whole morning and are now waiting for the lunch hour. A few of the clerks have lunch from 12 to 1, but all the others from 1 to 2. Suddenly, the clock in the office strikes 1. I knew it had struck 12:30, but I had begun to think it would never reach 1 o'clock, says Marshall. The two young men now got up, went to the restaurant where they usually had their lunch, and sat down. They at once began to look at the menu, a long list of the different sorts of food that one could get. A little later, they saw the young lady who served at their table coming to take their order. "Here comes the waitress," said Storm. "I am glad to see her, for I am very hungry today." They ordered their lunch, and in 2 or 3 minutes, the waitress was back again, carrying the food on a tray. One of the most important things on the waitress's tray was a big pot of tea. Storm had now learned to drink tea as often as an Englishman. The waitress placed the pot of tea and the other things on the table and went away. Although the food had been placed on the table, Storm continued to look at the prices on the menu. "I thought you said you were hungry, but you seem to be much more interested in the menu than in the food itself," Marshall said to him, smiling. Storm replied that the prices interested him a great deal, and finished by asking Marshall to tell him something about English money and coins. He explained that these things were difficult for a stranger to get used to because nearly the whole world uses the decimal system. Even the Americans, who use the English system of weights and measures, have their dollar, which is equal to 100 cents, said Storm. "I always have great trouble in understanding the prices in the shops in London. You have more than one way of saying the same thing, at least when it comes to money. You must know quite a lot of these things already, seeing that you have been here almost a month. But I think it will be better if I explain to you all the details of our monetary system, especially as you seem to have so much trouble in finding out what things really cost," Marshall told his friend. "I should be glad if you would give me all the details about English money. Before you start, however, you had better pour me another cup of tea," Storm said. Some of the tea went on the table and over the edge of the table onto the floor. Marshall said, "I'm sorry, I wasn't very careful, but it doesn't matter so much as there is no cloth on the table and the floor isn't very clean. If you want a restaurant where they have cloths on the table and clean floors, you must pay more for your meals," he continued, laughing. "But if you will pass me the sugar, I will start. I like a lot of sugar in my tea, in my coffee, in everything, in fact. I love sweet things." Storm told him that he never took sugar in tea or coffee because he didn't like sweet things. In fact, he didn't like anything that was full of sugar. Marshall began by explaining that there are pounds, shillings, pence, and farthings in the English monetary system. "A pound," he continued, "is divided into 20 shillings, a shilling into 12 pence, and a penny into 4 farthings. At one time, a pound was always a gold coin, called a sovereign because the king's head was to be found on one side of it. There was a 10-shilling coin, too, also made of gold, that was called a half-sovereign. In nearly every country of the world, 3 metals were used for coins before the War of 1914 to 1918. Gold had the greatest value of the 3 metals that were used for money, and silver was next in value. Silver is the sort of metal my parents' forks and spoons are made of," Marshall explained. "The 3rd metal was copper, a metal of a red color. Copper is the same color as an American Indian. Nowadays, however, it would be very difficult to find a gold coin, paper money is used instead. In England, we use a pound note and a 10-shilling note instead of the gold sovereign and half sovereign. Until sometime after the war of 1939 to 1945, we had coins that people spoke of and thought of as silver coins. In reality, we had no coins in England that were made of silver only. We had no coins of any sort or size that were made of pure metals. Less than half of the metals of the so-called silver coins was silver. However, in order to pay America in silver some of the money we owed her, we changed instead to a mixture of copper and nickel. The old copper coins, however, have not been changed and are still the same as they were, made of a mixture of copper and some other metal. The world is full of paper money, and it is hardly possible to find a coin of any value. It is not very often that coins are pure. They're mostly mixtures of at least two metals. Now I will tell you about the English coins and at the same time show you what they look like, for I have some in my pocket. Marshall put his hand in his trouser pocket and brought out a number of coins. He showed Storm 4 copper coins, a farthing, which is a quarter of a penny, a halfpenny, a penny, and a 3-penny bit. He also had 4 of the new coins, a 6-pence, a shilling, a 2-shilling piece, a florin, and a half-crown. "We used to have a crown too," said Marshall, "but the size of the coin was too great." "That is all quite easy to understand," Storm told him. "But will you also explain to me the different ways in which people give prices? For sometimes when I hear a price, I don't know how much it is, and, consequently, I am in doubt as to how much I have to pay." "I shouldn't like you to be in doubt about the price," Marshall replied. "Now I will mention all the different ways in which we give prices in writing and in speaking. 5 pounds is written. The letter stands for the Latin word libra, or pound. 5 shillings is written, or, but 5 pence is written. The letter D stands for denarius, which is the Latin word for an old Roman coin. Now, 2 figures that are not connected by and mean pence and farthings. If I say 5-3, I mean 5 pence, 3 farthings, and is written. 2 figures connected by and means shillings and pence, so that if I say 5 and 3, I mean 5 shillings and 3 pence. This is written. When speaking of pounds, we express ourselves in this way: 3 pounds, 5 and 3, which means 3 pounds 5 shillings and 3 pence, and is written. Thank you, Marshall. It is all clear to me now, but I must say that I can't see the advantage of having pounds, shillings, pence, and farthings. It seems very foolish to me, as shillings and pence would be quite enough. I might mention, Storm, that only English businessmen would say 3 pounds, 5 and 3. Nearly everyone else would prefer to express it 65 and 3. Then, Storm answered, there is no doubt that the English system is foolish. In my country, we always say that it is foolish to do things in such a way that they give extra work. But I think that we have spent enough time in talking about money. To finish my meal, I should like some cheese and another cup of tea. I find that the cheese in England is very good, and I always have a piece of bread and cheese for supper. Yes, said Marshall. Bread, a piece of cheese, and a good glass of beer make a fine end to the day. I like a glass of beer before going to bed. Exercise C. Grammar. Adjectives are words that say what things or persons are like. Examples: I have a big dog. He is often dirty. When he is clean, he is a nice dog. In these sentences, big, dirty, clean, and nice are adjectives, and each of these adjectives tells us something about the dog, which is a noun. Other adjectives are high, beautiful, kind, blue, good, bad, whole, big, great, and many others. Adjectives may be used to make comparisons. When used in this way, er and est are added to them. In the sentence, my dog is cleaner than yours, but Henry's is the cleanest of the three, a comparison is made between the dogs. When er is added to an adjective, we say that the adjective is in the comparative. When est is added, the adjective is said to be in the superlative. There are several things to notice about the comparative and the superlative of adjectives. If an adjective already has an e as the last letter, only r and st are added. For example, nice, nicer, nicest. Most adjectives that end in y change y to I in the comparative and the superlative. For example, dirty, dirtier, dirtiest. In some adjectives of one syllable, the last letter is written twice before er or est is added. For instance, big, bigger, biggest. Long adjectives do not add er and est, but comparison is expressed by the help of more and most. She is more beautiful than her sister, and the most beautiful girl I know. Some adjectives have special comparatives and superlatives. For example, good, better, best, many, more, most, much, more, most.